Betting on sports can be hard, but hiring Morgan & Morgan is easy. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/bestbets or dial #law, #529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/bestbets. This is a paid advertisement.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Good Wednesday morning to you. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV. However you're taking us in, we appreciate it. It's Gill Alexander. It is Kelley Bydlon, producer number 9. So much more than a producer. Live from Circa. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm good. Made a couple bets yesterday.
Nice.
Like to hear it? Here it go. No, we'll get to it momentarily. On the show today, JVT joins us to talk NBA, college football, pro football. He's got it all. Get his thoughts on the latest college football bracket, the penultimate college football bracket, Kelley. It's a 5-star word for you. Matt Cox, Matty Cox, coming up from 3-Man Weave. We'll talk a little college hoops, find out what he's betting. Most wins in the National Football League. We will discuss that as well, that market. And we got some Aaron Schatz. I buried the headline. Aaron Schatz with his quarterly appearance here on the show. Through the prism of DVOA, we'll talk with Aaron about a couple things. One, historical DVOA numbers for the teams of 2024. Where do the Lions rank all time? Where do they stand now after 12 games? Where do the 11-1 Chiefs stand in terms of worst 11-1 teams of all time? We'll do that. Where does the Ravens offense stack up all time? There's a whole bunch of that with DVOA. And then Jason Weingarten will join us. And yes, NFL Power Rankings, which I don't know about yours. Mine barely moved with one exception, of course. And you can guess the exception.
There was not much movement in mine either. It was kind of funny as you and I both moved a team kind of dramatically, I guess I'd say. You wouldn't even be able to guess which team I had that I moved down.
Really?
It was one I got a little aggressive with last week. Then they took an L and I immediately slid back. I'm like, all right. I moved in from not ranked to number 10, I believe, and then dropped back out.
Trying to think who that was. Well, we'll find out later on the show.
Find out. Have to stick around.
All right.
Just an hour and 45 minutes from now.
Hey, there's plenty between now and then, including 2 hours of yacht rock talk. No, I'm kidding. Okay, let's start with college football real quick, though I would like to do that. College football, we talked about this yesterday on the show. I said, with several guests yesterday, with a couple guests yesterday, we talked about both Will Hill and with Pete Futak, that Alabama's getting in this one way or the other, right? This is just how this stuff works. And that was the going theory. And so before they announced the bracket yesterday, I went ahead and I bet Alabama.
Yeah, good on you.
18-1 to win it all. So I have Georgia 5-1, which, by the way, you could still get Georgia at 5-1, and I have Alabama at 18-1. They immediately after the announcement yesterday on ESPN that they were going to be in the 11th position in the bracket, that they immediately went down to about 13-1, 12-1. Now, by the way, that may sound smart, but if I had just done it a day earlier, I would have gotten way better than 18-1. So it's not that smart, right? But that was the going theory. That's why I bet Alabama.
How much longer was it a day before?
It was in the 20s.
Really?
I think it was 22-1 before I got there yesterday.
Wow. Okay. I was staring at 12-1 yesterday afternoon.
Oh,
wow,
well, by the time they announced it, it was 12.
No, I'm saying even before.
Oh, no,
because I was considering.
BetMGM had 22-1 available earlier in the day yesterday alone, and I want to say it was 40-1 earlier in the week. Anyway, point being, or late last week. Point being that now, so the way that it shakes out, you have Alabama, who they already called their shot. The committee called their shot last week by making Alabama just on the outside looking in, which was sort of their first salvo of, hey, anything happens here, you know who's getting in. So who? Let's talk about a few things. One, who deserves to be angry? Miami, obviously, on the outside looking in, deserves to be angry because they'll say, well, we have 2 losses, they have 3. It's that simple. And then Ole Miss probably has the best case to be angry because if you look at the bigger common opponents, Georgia, remember Alabama almost had the epic collapse against. Ole Miss beat Georgia by 18. South Carolina, Alabama barely beats South Carolina. Ole Miss dominates them. I know LSU went the other way in terms of a common opponent. But so Ole Miss probably has the best case of being aggrieved here. What's more interesting to me than all of that is that we get to the ACC championship, right? We talked about this yesterday. This was how we couched the Alabama thing. SMU and Clemson. SMU right now, considered one of the 4 best conference champions, or at least conference leaders at this moment. So they're third in the bracket. 8th is their seed, right, in terms of the rankings. But they end up with the 3rd position in the bracket because of the one of the 4 best conference champions stipulation. But if they lose, right, if they lose the conference championship, if they lose the ACC conference championship game to Clemson, herein lies the rub, right? So this was the scenario we painted out yesterday. If Clemson beats SMU, does the committee still put in Alabama? If SMU wins, we don't have a problem, right, because Clemson's on the outside looking in as is. But if Clemson beats SMU, note that this doesn't apply to UNLV beating Boise State in the Mountain West, but specifically with this one, if Clemson beats SMU, does the committee bounce SMU out of the bracket entirely in favor of Alabama? And the calculus that we were talking about yesterday, the calculus I made in making the bet is, yes, they will. They will bounce SMU out for Alabama. Now, Chris Felica brought up an interesting point this morning, which is, I don't know if anybody has a tremendous problem with saying Alabama's a better football team than SMU, right? I don't think that's a particularly controversial take. His point was an interesting one, which was, for the committee to have muted the controversy here, or to have gotten ahead of this, why didn't the committee, instead of making SMU the 8th seed, quote unquote, or the rankings have SMU 8th,
right,
and Alabama ranked below them, why didn't you just make it so that SMU is ranked below Alabama heading in to the ACC championship? Therefore, if SMU loses, you avoid what I was talking about yesterday, being that the stipulation of conference championship game losses shouldn't hurt you.
Right.
And so if you do that heading into this week, you avoid that.
You're basically telling everybody what's going to happen if they lose.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, that was Felica's point. That wasn't mine. I think that is a good hack to this controversy that will obviously occur if SMU loses to Clemson. The other way of putting this is, you can't create a system, right? Because they've already said teams that aren't playing this week, we don't have any more data points. They are where they are in terms of the pecking order. Okay. Championship games aren't supposed to hurt you. What you've created now by putting SMU 8th, Alabama 11th in the rankings, what you've created now is a situation where SMU's best checkmate play, I'm not saying they're going to do this, but this was all over Twitter yesterday, SMU's best play is to forfeit the football game. To just come up with something where they're like, oh, sorry, we can't show up for this rash of the flu. We can't play, so no more data points. I guess we're in no matter, that's it, right? Now, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm just saying theoretically that's the checkmate move for SMU. So you can't have a system where going into the championship games, that's SMU's best play.
This is why I was asking you yesterday, because I've heard it a lot this week. Like, we're really getting to the language of a loss in the conference championship game is not gonna hurt you, right, or whatever it is.
Oh,
and I'm
it's
like,
about to hurt you.
It's gonna hurt you. I don't know why they. I don't know why they keep bringing that up, because if it's like, it has to matter somewhat, and I agree it should matter somewhat.
It's about to hurt you if you lose, SMU. Anyway, but the scenario where Alabama does not get in is if UNLV beats Boise State and Clemson wins both, like that's maybe that's the checkmate for Alabama being on the outside. So I don't know. It's we'll get thoughts from JVT on all this, but that's what it's looking like right now, is that SMU better win their conference championship game. So congratulations, Mustangs, for getting to your conference championship games. The folks who are going to be watching you, they might be in a better position than you are right now. SMU remains a favorite over Clemson. And of course, there's a lot of people out there just saying, we'll just beat them then. Yeah, but you get the idea.
Bama's still 16-1 up over at DraftKings.
Okay, there you go.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah,
might get involved.
Yeah, maybe we had that book available. We could have that number too.
My records tell me I bet Georgia at some point at plus 650. So yeah. Go Dogs.
We all bet Georgia at the same time.
Oh, did we?
Way early in the season.
I don't remember it at all. Okay, let's go Dogs.
The other bet I made, I also talked about yesterday, which I talked about the day before too, which is I went ahead and I bet Lamar Jackson MVP.
Yeah, I like it.
At 12-1 at BetMGM yesterday. 12-1, which was better than the plus 950 that we were quoting earlier in the week. And again, the thinking on this is, I like the Rams this week against the Bills. I think they have a puncher's chance for an outright upset. What that does for me is the real, ding on Lamar Jackson's resume this year has nothing to do with Lamar Jackson singularly. It has to do with the Ravens' record. And you cleverly brought up Cleve TA's parameters. For MVP winners in the past, they must be on teams that have X, Y, and Z. And one of the big stipulations was you can't have fewer than 11 wins in the end. So my thinking on the Lamar Jackson thing is, right now they have 5 losses, so they cannot lose twice more. They can only afford one more loss. I actually don't think they lose again. I think they go 4-0, but even then they have one chance based on the parameters. Here it is from Cleve. No MVP in the last seasons came from a team with less than 11 wins, that one in the middle there. Because and with Buffalo, the Buffalo part of this, Josh Allen's obviously the favorite. I think Buffalo has a chance to lose to the Rams. I think they may have one more loss coming up because they got the Lions after that. And therefore, the 4 losses versus the 5 losses, that will no longer be a consideration. That's why I get to the Lamar Jackson bet.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. He's 29 touchdowns and 3 picks. If Lamar Jackson ends up with, let's say, 37 touchdown passes and 4 picks and has better rushing yard stats than Josh Allen, you can't ignore 37 and 4.
Agreed.
You were going to say?
No, I was going to say, but we're leaving out the Saquon Barkley issue. So
it's not going to happen.
I agree with you.
I agree
with you, and that's I didn't know there was 12-1 out there. I'll probably going to join you on that.
I think the Saquon Barkley thing is noise. I think he is Offensive Player of the Year, and that's the end of that.
I think Josh Allen is the rightful favorite. I think he was most likely going to win. We're talking about betting odds, so at 12-1, I think there's enough room there for Lamar to get home because of everything you just broke down.
It's like the Genty.
I don't think Saquon's getting home.
Yeah, it's like the Genty thing. If it was 2-1, I wouldn't bet it.
Yeah,
but 12-1 in the case of Lamar, yeah. Thank you very much. JVT's thoughts on all the college football bracketology, and of course his plays in both college. I'm going to say he's going to be on UNLV. That's just a guess. Also the NBA and the NFL. JVT next, right here on A Numbers Game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Hey, you want to bet smarter? Start with Smarter Insights. With expert breakdowns of the week's biggest matchups and deep dives into betting strategies and trends, VSiN delivers the kind of actionable content that gives you the betting edge. Right now, you can check out articles like Greg Peterson's college basketball best bets. I'm breathless just thinking about it. Oops. Adam Burke previews all 9 conference championship games. Steve Mackinnon's NFL analytics report. And later today, you can check out Zach Cohen's NBA best bets. Dave Tooley on week 14. Jonathan Davis, top NHL best bets. To get all access to all the articles on VSiN.com right now, you can sign up for as little as $9.99 for your first month at VSiN.com/subscribe. We get tweets at Beating the Book, always appreciated. O'Dale at O'Dandy-Doo said, hey, Gill and Kelley, are you guys aware of Playoff Survivor? Pardon me, or another format for group betting the NCAA playoffs with this new format? Curious if a 1-pick per round Survivor like we do for the NFL playoffs will work. I have not, quite frankly, is the answer to that question, but I love the idea. Might take more than 1 pick in the first round, though. I would imagine that.
There'll probably be some people throwing those together this year.
I think so. Steve Cohen at the Steve Cohen 21. Gill, Kelley, loved ANG yesterday. Where else can we listen to discourse on soccer, college football rankings, NFL, and what groups should be considered yacht rock? Hall of Famers, Cross, Loggins, McDonald, and Toto. Steely Dan makes some list. Over under set at 4.5. I like it, Steve. Well done on the list. It's a very accurate yacht rock, if you must call it that, Hall of Fame list.
I was enjoying the one tweet we got last night with someone very angry at the document, true crime doc recommendation.
Oh, some guy was. We got a tweet from me, yesterday. Someone tweeted that. Who was it? Was it Trip Tepper who recommended the crime story one? He goes, the guy who recommended that, you just wasted 2 hours of my life. I'm sorry. That is a great documentary. The American Crime Story one is a great documentary.
It felt like the stream of consciousness tweet, though, because I feel like we've all felt that way at some point where you start watching a show, you're like, why did someone tell me this is good? Like, I'm stopping this right now.
Let me just say this. You can't possibly think that's a bad documentary. So good. T-Bone, winners in the Mile High are so much better when the Broncos were the playoff hunt. They said this team was a 6-win team, 7-1 now to make the he says 7-1 to make the playoffs. Not sure what that means right there. Bo Nix, worst quarterback in draft. Now we laughing. Yeah, man, he's been great. He His stats and Jaden Daniels' stats are almost identical, like as close to identical as you can get. Really great season, and the improvement in season is what has been most remarkable. Numbers, guys. Ahoy, matey. Well, there's certainly a lot more Christopher Cross videos in my viewing history since yesterday's show. FYI, Gilly. Is it really an Earl Campbell throwback jersey if it was smack dab in the middle of Earl's career? Good point. Good point. It's throwback to us now, but Christopher Cross was in a modern day, if you will, Earl Campbell jersey at the time. Jonathan Von Tobel joins us, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on Twitter at MeJVT as our senior NBA analyst and, of course, host of VSiN Prime Time, VSiN Tonight, all kinds of VSiN shows. How you doing, JVT?
I'm good. I would very much like the name of that true crime documentary. The wife and I are on a kick watching quite a few.
What was it? What was it? American. Now I'm.
Yeah, I'll find it. Hold on.
American. It wasn't the one about the Murdaugh family, was it?
No, which is great too. It was.
That's a great one.
It's the one on Netflix, right?
It's about a series of things in the East Bay. Okay, we'll get that for you. By the
send
end
it to me afterwards.
American Nightmare.
By the way,
American Nightmare. There you go.
Okay.
There
All
you
right.
go.
The statement, the one on Netflix, is a very, very broad statement.
Just what I said yesterday when Gill started talking about it. I'm like, there's so many documentaries on every one of these streaming services. I don't even know where to start.
Can I interest you in some yacht rock? Never mind. Don't answer that. Okay. Let's start with the NBA. I want to crescendo to football.
Sure.
NBA Cup yesterday, the group stage concludes. How did that go for you? And then the day after, where we have some rest differences, do you exploit that tonight?
So the first part, it was fine. They got the Warriors at plus 220 to win the group. That clinched really early in NBA Cup play, so that was good. And then as Kelley and I both had the Pistons to win the group heading into last night at 13-1. So to have that opportunity, at the very least, right, to be in a winner-take-all situation, do something with it is a good spot. And, Kelley and I were texting yesterday about this, Gil. I think when you look at it, in-game betting on the final day of the NBA Cup, I think is going to be something that we very much should look forward to every single year. The fact, as long as this is a thing or society lasts, I really do think, for example, we were talking about this on VSiN Primetime last night when we were on the air. One of the in-game bets I made was Orlando plus 28.5 when they were getting their doors blown off. Because there was two-part thinking, right? Orlando, all of a sudden, despite the fact they had a good point differential, needed to actually keep playing because they were on the verge of maybe getting eliminated by point differential. And the New York Knicks, on the other hand, they could have fought for the 1 seed, but if you fight for the 1 seed because of said point differential, you let Boston back in. And I don't think they wanted that. So ultimately, it comes to fruition. They end up losing by about 12 or something like that. They cover the 28.5. I think angles like that are going to be pretty profitable. And spinning that forward, I actually did have Philly circled today. I bet them yesterday, had them circled today, but my thought was that Orlando was going to be in like a rock'em sock'em, tooth and nail type of NBA Cup thriller to fight to win this group. And instead they got smoked. And I think they're probably going to be pretty focused. Everybody's going to be all hands on deck to get that taste out of the mouth. Remember, they were 12-1 straight up and against the spread in the 13 games prior to last night. I think you're going to get a pretty good effort. So the only thing today I have is Atlanta taking on Milwaukee. Atlanta has won 4 straight. They've quietly been one of the better defensive teams the last 4 games. Their trio of wings with Trae Young, we're talking about Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, DeAndre Hunter. They have been absolutely tremendous. A net rating of about plus 11 around there. Catching the Bucks on the second leg of a back-to-back after beating Pistons last night. I'm going to believe in this Atlanta team. That's the only thing I've got today, Hawks plus 4.
Okay. And did you make any NBA Cup bets now that the group stage is over? Did you?
No,
nothing.
I haven't really looked at it. I did have the Cavs at 11-1 to win the whole thing. They obviously got eliminated. The Hawks again, like part of that, this win streak they've been on has been beating the Cavs too and getting there. So I didn't have anything outside of that to win the whole thing and haven't really looked too much at it yet.
Okay. Conference championships. I don't have to have talked to you to know, if I know you, JVT, that you're going to be on UNLV against Boise State, but it's not homerism. You actually have some rationale for this, of course.
Well, so you're right and you're wrong. I am on UNLV because I do have a preseason ticket on them to win the Mountain West Championship at 8-1. So I am very much coming into this from that angle of rooting for UNLV. I think one of the things that gives you some pause is the market upgrade that has transpired over the last few weeks since these two teams last met. Remember, they played at Allegiant, and Boise State was laying 4 here on the road, and now here we are in Boise laying 4 against UNLV. So there's clearly been some sort of upgrade. You can argue maybe a downgrade for Boise State, but I still think that UNLV is capable of coming in and winning this game, regardless of my current position right now. They are a team that runs the ball extremely well. You go back 2 weeks ago in the monsoon in San Jose, they outlast the Spartans because they just run the ball down their throat. We're expecting about 30 degrees, no precipitation, not a ton of wind. They're going to be able to execute their offense here. And remember, throughout the year, out of all of this magical season in which Ashton Jeanty has had, one team has held him to under 4 yards per carry, and that was UNLV. They played him pretty well. So I think this Rebels team playing at a pretty good clip here the last 4 games. And remember, healthy too. When they played in Allegiant, Jacob DeJesus was lost early in that game to injury. That's their all-star punt returner, wide receiver. Now he's going to be back here too. He's been playing the last 3 games. I think UNLV is very live to stay inside of this number, win the Mountain West, to potentially get to the college football playoff. It's one of a couple of positions I have. I also am sitting on Iowa State at 10-1 to win the Big 12, and I actually also think that they are the side in that Big 12 championship game.
Palm Readers tweets in accurately so, based on what we're talking about. SMU's best play is to just forfeit the game. He says Boise should skip the conference title game as well. That's their best play. He says a strong possibility that both fall below Alabama with a loss. Absolutely right.
Well, if Boise State loses, they would get knocked out automatically because they don't have a conference championship yet.
That's right. That would be the
their situation's
there.
A little bit different.
It's a little bit different. That's right. Okay. Any other conference championship that you like?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about Iowa State. I think I agree with the side that the Cyclones there. You know, it's always interesting to see, like, from a role reversal change. Like I said, I have this preseason ticket on them to win the conference, but this is an Iowa State team, guys. The last time we saw them as an underdog was at the end of September in the Cy-Hawk Bowl, where they played Iowa, and they ended up beating the Hawkeyes there. This Iowa State team that's performed pretty admirably for a team that has closed as a favorite in every game but one so far this year, and now you get this little bit of a role reversal. Arizona State's been great, right? They have, obviously, you look at the ATS record, they have shattered market expectations here, but I do think we're at a point now where the market, I think you're buying at the top of the market if you're coming in and laying it with Arizona State. I believe in the Cyclones team. I've believed in them since the beginning of the year. I think they're going to be in a pretty good spot to come out and win this game as a 2-point underdog. And I would point out the other one really quickly. As somebody who did believe in Texas against Texas A&M, and I like this defensive line a lot, one of the times, and actually I should say all the times, in which we've seen Georgia look its worst, it's when taking on a front seven that can make that offensive line look pretty poor. Now, they're a lot healthier in the middle, so that's going to be a little bit of a difference here. But I believe in this Texas front, and I like Texas. I think they're a little, much maligned, and I get it, but they kicked the crap out of Texas A&M. They had some red zone turnovers that kept that game close. I think the Longhorns may be a little undervalued, so as long as this is under 3, I think the Longhorns are the play here against Georgia out there in Atlanta.
Okay. National Football League week number 14, your favorite play is?
I think for a 6th consecutive week, we are going to be backing the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
Every week, this team's been on my card every week in the contest for sure. I've been betting on them as well. And I think that they're going to be able to stay inside this number. I just believe in the turnaround here for Young. He's not blowing any doors off, but he is better. This team is healthier at the wide receiver position. And Philadelphia, I don't think you take too much out of that win over Baltimore. If you look at it statistically, very misleading final score when you look at what transpired. So give me the Carolina Panthers once again.
Good for you that you've been on them that many weeks in a row. That worked out well. Bryce Young, 4 really solid football games in a row. I think everybody ought to be happy for him. Thank you, John. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks as always, guys.
Jonathan Von Tobel, everybody. VSiN Senior NBA analyst, of course. And VSiN Host. At MeJVT on Twitter. Let's talk some college hoops. Matt Cox on the other side. It's a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Are you the type of players looking to get down $10,000 or more on an NFL line at the best price in the market? Or perhaps you're looking to get your in-game play instantly accepted? Introducing Sport Trade, the app that's going to change sports betting. Minus 104 lines instead of the typical minus 110. Instant in-game betting and a concierge player service. Sport Trade, perfect for those who want a premium betting experience. Sport Trade live in New Jersey, Colorado, Iowa, Arizona, and now Virginia. Download Sport Trade. Use code VSiN to earn 10% cash back on each wager in your first week. Terms apply. Got to be 21 years or older to play. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. Right here on a numbers game, live from Circa. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Always appreciate it. Larry Fresh. By the way, Larry Fresh.
Who's that?
Larry Fresh got us the Chipotle.
Yeah, he did.
He got me a Chipotle gift. I really appreciate it. You shouldn't have.
Yeah,
it's already gone, though. I could tell you that much. He says, you don't think whoever wins the Bills-Lions game will be the MVP? It pretty much happened last year. It took Purdy out of the talks, and Lamar was crowned. I had a Purdy ticket. I have a golf ticket this year. Might sprinkle some on Lamar. Sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me, man. Put in the E40 at the end. Sprinkle me, man. No, because I think the Purdy thing was that game they played against Baltimore, right, where he was just awful. Is that what you're talking about? Maybe, that's the game you were referring to last year, where Purdy was just terrible. I think that's what did it, though, because Purdy was awful. I don't think that's exactly the case. So I don't think the better player in this game automatically becomes the MVP unless one of them has a as poor a game of that Purdy did last year. Given to Fly at Tony Dolphin, Alabama will leap ahead of Indiana just because, too. I don't doubt it. Jamie Leva, in living color reference in the opening segment, this is one of the many reasons I love this show. Well, that and Kelley, of course. Have a great day, gentlemen. I don't even remember the reference from the first segment.
I'm always great, so that part makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I've never screwed up.
Sean Higgs. JVT strikes me as a non-yacht rock guy. He strikes me as a bouncing souls type of guy. Maybe some helmet. I have no idea what that sentence meant.
I know. He could be a helmet guy. I don't know bouncing souls. I don't know that one.
Richard Cobb is tweeting in about nothing. It has nothing to do with anything. These are my favorite tweets. He goes, on a side note, Canewood wasn't one of my favorite golf courses. I needed wider fairways like at Longview. I have no idea what that's about.
Maybe it's an off to the side fan conversation. Okay, we like when those pick up.
I love those. Mustache Icon. In his Jeff Foxworthy voice, he goes, you might be yacht rock if Michael McDonald sings lead vocals and or backing vocals on your song. Oh, you definitely yacht rock if you're that. Mind the Gap from WFDU.FM, HD2. He says, if UNLV wins the Mountain West Championship game, they're guaranteed a spot in the top 12. Hell will break loose if Clemson and UNLV win. Dislike yacht rock. Sorry, Gill. Old school late 70s punk rocker. How can you dislike yacht rock? And then the palm readers checks back in. He asks, can you explain why SMU and Boise are different? Not sure I understand. Both have been determined to earn an at-large selection if the season ended today. Both could be moved behind Alabama if they lose the title game and out of the playoff. Not exactly, because, and this all falls under the general umbrella of subjectivity of college football. Remember, college football, not a sport. It's an exhibition voted on by people at the end. Boise State, if they lose, they are considered to be out of this entirely. Their resume is not as strong as SMU's. That's the viewpoint of the committee on that. Let us begin with some college basketball. Matt Cox joins us now, courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. He is 1/3 of the three-man weave operation, which you can follow at 3MW_CBB. Matty himself is at Matty_Cox on Twitter. How you doing, Matt?
Fellas, how are you doing?
I'm good. I know rankings don't matter to us, but we almost had a little history, so I do want to bring it up when this kind of thing happens. UConn loses 3 in Maui. They go from 2nd to 25th. No team had gone from 2 to out of the top 25 in almost 4 decades. Do you think they kept them at 25 so they just didn't match history?
Right. There was a hard floor at 25. Yeah. They couldn't possibly take the number away from them. I think Dan Hurley would have marched into the AP. They would have assembled all the AP into one room, and then Hurley would have had a stern finger pointing talking to all of them. Did
I see this correctly? Like you say, we're never playing in Maui again. Did I see that correctly?
Yes, he did. So he has declared that. I think among other mandates that he has overreacted to that weird stuff happens on the island. I think all these teams that play bad or play well out there, 3 weeks later we look back and we say that was just a blip on the radar.
Yeah,
I think that's sort of what we will come away from the Maui thing in about a few weeks. So I think let that marinate, folks. Let the whole Maui thing marinate.
I was going to say, I'm sure all his players who are like freshmen, and I'm sure all like the UConn athletic department is thrilled to hear that they're never going to Maui again
after their day of jet skiing and chilling on the beach.
Yeah, that trip sucked, Danny Hurley. Are you worried about them? I asked Jim Root, your buddy, the other day. I was like, are you worried about them? And then who do you think right now? And again, it's December, so none of this really matters. But in your mind or in your rankings, who is the best team in the country?
I think the right answer is Auburn. I think my answer is Duke. So fitting that they're pinned against each other tonight. Another one of these awesome ACC, these conference challenge showdowns. So yeah, it's kind of 1A, 1B between those guys. A lot of, as I said, preseason, there are more very, very good teams than I've ever seen, but there's certainly no great team. And I think the quote unquote top tier elite teams are just more vulnerable. I think similar to what you see in college football. I think there's just a lot of new. There's more volatility in game-to-game performance. So you don't have the surefire, Steve Saban Alabama teams. You don't have that in college. But I think you have a lot of very, very, very good teams that are really close to Duke and Auburn, but no great team. However, I do think those two are kind of my 1A, 1B right now.
All right. What about Duke and Auburn? What do you got there?
I got Duke. I would take it up to 3. I just think you looked at what these teams coming back from Maui, did last night. Colorado was down to Pacific early. They played on Monday. And then Dayton struggled with a pretty bad Western Michigan team last night. It's been a long, I think, overused notion in handicapping, but sometimes the oldies are the goodies, right? And I think coming back from Maui, Auburn on the road. I know it's an older team this season than they had last year. That was sort of their bugaboo last year. They were sort of younger, had some road lulls after they racked up a big, strong start to the season. This team's older. They should play better on the road, but this is just a vintage Duke spot. I think the more talented team, a classic Cameron Crazy type game, I think Duke plays well here.
All right. Speaking of UConn, you think they take out their frustration on Baylor?
I do, yeah. I mean, the Conference Challenge home teams, I believe, let me pull it up. They were strong yesterday while I stall and find the actual numbers. So I did kind of ride that angle with UConn as well. I like that UConn played sort of a tune-up game in between. They played the vaunted Maryland Eastern Shore from Prince George's County, I believe, on Sunday to kind of get back to the time zone. They looked really good in that one. Not that anyone cares because they played, 4 terrible teams at home. But I do think that kind of propels them into a good effort tonight against a Baylor team that's good, talented, but defense is very leaky. I don't know if I like this Baylor defense.
I just like that you threw in PG County, baby. I like that.
Shouts. That's your neck of the woods, Will.
Yeah. Marquette, Iowa State, anything on that game?
I do actually lean Marquette. It's the one where I don't like the home team in these conference challenge. Shaka as a dog is a very, again, an oldie but a goodie betting angle. I think 6 is a lot of points. Again, team coming back from Maui. Marquette has Wisconsin lurking this weekend. I don't think this is a look ahead. You don't look past the number, a top 5 team on the road. But I do think that was a slight concern for me. They've just played so many good games. Like I think Marquette's probably due for like a B- effort, I think. But I still lean their way. I think 6 is too many. Just their guard play is terrific. Their defense is awesome. I think they just play well. Their style, I think, travels well with their guard depth and their pressure.
Usually I just let you give your picks, but I do want to cherry pick one more because there are some really great games tonight. Why shouldn't we lay the points with Kansas against Creighton, who has the injuries to the point guard and to Kalkbrenner?
Yeah, I took 4. I think anything beyond 4 seems like it's a sucker type. So I think you're right, though. I think you trust your intuition on that one. Creighton has shown us nothing to have any sort of confidence in them. If you're a believer in, like I said, the home team in these conference challenge spots, certainly working in Creighton's favor. But like Kansas is really close to Creighton. It's not like they're getting on like a 5-hour flight cross country. KU's got like 26-year-olds. Like, they're not going to walk into, to Omaha and be shell shocked by a really good, which should be a great crowd tonight for sure. And we saw what a great crowd can do last night, Clemson against UK. I'm with you. I like Kansas here. I took 4 small, not big though.
Okay. What are your plays today?
I just have 2 pretty strong ones. I took San Jose State. Shout out to Tim Miles out there in the West Coast. They're playing at New Mexico, who has a litany of issues right now. They had some like internal locker room thing. Richard Pitino had to quell a bunch of questions at media day. There's some weird stuff. I feel like this could be a ticking time bomb in Lobo land. And Tim Miles as a dog is usually a trusty angle I like to go with if it's the right side. And then another lesser conference challenge, Big Sky Summit Challenge, Gill, Montana hosting North Dakota State. I think the Grizz just take care of business. I took both Weber State and Montana against North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Sorry, I'm getting my Dakotas confused. So both home teams in that conference challenge showdown there, Weber and Montana, but Montana's the one I like a little bit better. I think those guards are just more talented. So
you have to subscribe to the Summit League package to watch these games. Todd Wishnev is listening.
The MidCon. What is it? They got the MidCon out there. I got a few different streams. Yeah, I can't keep up with all the apps on my phone these days. My phone's about to die.
Good night in college hoops. Matty, appreciate it as always,
Great
man.
night. No, thank you, fellas.
Matt Cox, everybody. 3MW_CBB for 3-Man Weave. Matty_Cox for Matt himself. We will come back. We will talk about the best record in the NFL, that market. And I want to say something about comeback player of the year. We haven't talked about that in a while. I got some thoughts on the other side. Numbers Game, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite. And right now, you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code NUMBERS. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites from legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. Save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NUMBERS. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NUMBERS. Minimum purchase may apply. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Always appreciated. Chris Heath, our buddy Chris, Gill's Sprinkle Me is one of his faves. Must mean he was at KMEL in 1996. That I was. That I was. Also, during the Megapod, when Vegas Runner used to say he was going to sprinkle some on the money line, we used to hit the E40.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
All the time. Chris Felica. Hey, Chris Felica, the Bear. I may have missed it on a numbers game. First of all, he's lying. He didn't. But where's the love for Jerry Rafferty? Oh, he's got to be right there with Michael McDonald for the voice of Yacht Rock. Jerry Rafferty was, what, Baker Street?
Yeah, no, I'm Googling him right now. Who the hell's Jerry Rafferty?
Baker Street. That was his jam, I think. Yeah, it's not quite Michael McDonald, though. Jaime Leyva, I hope I'm not saying that incorrectly, wrote a song about it. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what I said in the first segment. Wrote a song about it. Like to hear it? Here it go. That's right. David Allen Greer as a blues singer Calhoun Tubbs. Thank you for that. Brian M., the AP is located way too close to stores to drop UConn from the rankings. Also, I'd suggest the sea salts of Hawaii Maui onion salt for any meat. Matty Cox referring to marinating just brought that to mind.
Sea salts of Hawaii Maui onion salt. Well, I couldn't even get that out when I tried it the second time.
Jerry Bose.
Stuck in the Middle with You.
Stuck in the Middle with You?
Jerry Rafferty.
I don't know if I know that.
Song?
No, you're thinking of a different Stuck in the Middle with You.
No.
Yeah. Jerry Bose. It's about TV. They want the brand names like Alabama and Notre Dame. They will always bend over backwards to include the bigger names. That's exactly right. Let's see. Brosec, 1870. They already walked it back last night. To anyone saying SMU should just win, Alabama should have just won during the regular season. This is the same BS as last year to sneak Bama in. Agree completely. Thank you. Grayson Rossi, what was the record of home teams of the challenges yesterday? Matt started to say it on A&G, but never gave it out. We'll ask him. We'll follow up on that. Las Vegas 514, yo. Correction for my guy, Matty. UMBC is Baltimore County. Appreciate the love for PG County, though. I thought he said Maryland Eastern Shore, too, which also isn't PG County. So I'm not really sure which way it was going with PG County. Rick Ollier just downloaded the new VSiN app. When did you guys move away from the South Point? And then he says Benito Santiago. What does that mean? I have no idea. And Eric Berg watched American Nightmare on Gill's recommendation maybe a year ago. I continue to share it with people today. One of the more fascinating recent documentaries. Still feel horrific for all involved. And Rink Needs Beer. Michael McDonald was all over the place. Chrissy Felica, he says. If you didn't have McDonald doing background vocals, you weren't trying. All right, we could read more, but we got to get to season win totals because it's time for Season Win Total Wednesdays.
Are the guys looking over or under? It's another edition of Win Total Wednesday on A Numbers Game.
You know, here's the thing. Here's the thing about all this, Kelley. Win totals, well, they're easy, right? But Morgan & Morgan, well, I should say win totals are hard. But Morgan & Morgan, they make everything easy. Hard, not at all. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 1,000 lawyers. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is so easy. If you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/bestbets or dial pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/bestbets or pound law, pound 529 from your cell. This is a paid advertisement. No season wins today, no win totals. Although win totals in a sort of creative way, who's going to end up with the best record in the National Football League? Most wins is what we like to call
it. Which we usually don't like these as much as the fewest wins. However, at this point in time in the NFL, it's actually kind of interesting.
It is kind of interesting. I don't know. I think if there's a bet, this harkens back to something we were talking about the other day, where we were talking about number one seeds per conference, right? Right now, the most wins market, as you would imagine, because Detroit is 11-1 and Kansas City is 11-1, that they have the shortest odds, which they do. But I would advocate going with the Philadelphia Eagles, Kelley, at plus 350. I liked him for number 1 seed in that market in the NFC. I just think their schedule is a mite easier than the Detroit Lions. Right now, the Lions and Chiefs are both at plus 190. The Eagles are at plus 350. There are longer numbers, right? Teams with 2 losses, like the Eagles, the Bills at plus 550, the Vikings with just 2 losses are 14-1. And then you've got 3-loss Packers at 80-1, the 3-loss Steelers at 150-1, and so on. I think the Eagles at plus 350, based on remaining schedule, is the best bet in this. Now, here's the thing. Would I actually make this bet? We talk about I just made a Lamar Jackson bet. I just made an Alabama bet. Would I actually make this bet? I don't know that plus 350 is sexy enough, but if you're asking me what's the best bet on the board in the most regular season wins market, that to me is it.
So this was interesting to me because you're right. We talked about AFC, NFC 1 seed yesterday. Big difference is tiebreaker, right? Tiebreaker matters. 1 seed doesn't matter here. You are in the. We've talked a lot about this with most wins or fewest wins. You're going to get into potential dead heat rules, tiebreakers, all that type of stuff,
which is no fun. By the way,
no fun. So I think you got to think about things a little bit differently. I think the one I kept coming back to. Well, 2 things. First of all, the Vikings, it's just how many games we got to play before we give this team any respect? They only got 2 losses, and they're that much further down the board than all these other teams with 2 losses. I think Lions, I make the same comment I made about the Chiefs yesterday. I don't think they're going to be able to run pure through the end. Like, there's 1 or 2 losses, I think, on that schedule. They've just been cutting things too close here recently, and that is why Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are as good as they are, because they can win those tight games. But, man, I expect them to keep doing it week after week. I think it's a little much. So I think Lions, when you look at the Lions still with the record that they have, and you brought up the Bills-Rams situation this week, which I kind of believe. I'm going to stay away from that game, but wouldn't shock me at all if the Rams ended up beating the Bills. So then the Bills face the Lions next week. If the Lions get past that, I think they're sitting in the driver's seat for this one. So I would go probably with the short shot Detroit Lions here in this market.
Yeah. Eagles to me, and the reason I go with the Eagles is because they're going to be favored in maybe every game, if not only one game at Washington. Maybe they won't be favored, and even that would be by a tick if they're not a favorite. So I think that's a 4-1 at worst stretch for the Eagles.
I'm with you there. Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the Lions would have to run pure for sure.
Yeah. Which brings us to another conversation. Can we talk about comeback player of the year for a second?
Oh, please.
We're allowed to do this.
I was going crazy on the break over this.
Oh, were you?
I haven't really looked at these odds recently.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
But a thought occurred to us. By the way, again, here it is, the new rules from AP senior NFL writer Rob Maaddi. The spirit of the AP Comeback Player of the Year award is to honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstances that led him to miss playing time the previous season. The decision to provide this guidance was made last December, but could not be implemented for the 2023 awards because the season was almost completed. Or as I like to say, mea culpa that Damar Hamlin didn't get Comeback Player of the Year.
Yep.
So here are your odds for Comeback Player of the Year. And I am curious if you believe that any of these players are a lock. Let's start with the short shot. The short shot is Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. All right, Joe Burrow's having a spectacular year. Joe Burrow has been in this league. What is it? Is this his 5th year? His 5th year in the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. He got the Comeback Player of the Year in 2021. He won the award. Are they really going to give Joe Burrow a second Comeback Player of the Year award in 5 NFL seasons?
I hadn't really thought about it that way before.
It's ridiculous.
I hadn't really thought about it. I don't know that should matter, but will it? Maybe.
Shouldn't it, though? Like, oh, you can just keep getting Comeback Player of the Year? It's completely illogical.
It's a season. I mean, it's a season by season thing, right? With the language that we just read, it's looking back to a year ago.
Every year you get hurt and then you perform well, you could still keep getting Comeback Player.
Like in theory, every other year, right? Every other year you could, in theory, win it because you have to be hurt for a season.
Who do you think would actually win it if it was voted on today? Burrow, because I think it's a way to get. I think it is. They'll also look at it. Voters will look at it as a way to award Joe Burrow without having to consider MVP or Offensive Player of the Year. I am starting to feel like Damar Hamlin might win this year.
Really?
Yeah.
If he does this, the whole thing we thought was broken last year, if he wins it this year, it's completely broken. They just got to get rid of this.
Because I don't think there's a clear there's a clear other person. And I wonder if that Burrow giving it to him twice in 5 years thing will matter to some.
I think the other one I think that should be there is Kirk Cousins. But, I mean, if he keeps sucking, if he's hurt, which I think he is, that might be an issue.
You know what would be great if we had an actual comeback player of the year voter on the show? Hey, why don't we have Aaron Schatz on after the break? That's next. Numbers Game, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.